Welcome back to Worldie Unboxed, the Founders Edition. In this episode, we are honored to feature Angel Johnson, the remarkable founder of ICONI, an inclusive activewear brand for women and men. Angel is an Air Force veteran, a TEDx speaker, and has been featured on Oprah's Favorite Things 2020, as well as in Buzzfeed, People Magazine, The Denver Post, and numerous other publications. During our conversation, Angel shares her experience of starting a business during the COVID-19 pandemic, her innovative approach to incorporating philanthropy into her business model, and the challenges she has faced as a Black female founder. Angel's journey is both inspiring and insightful, offering valuable lessons for entrepreneurs like Aaron and I. Stay connected with us by joining our community at worldiebrand.com and subscribing to the Worldie YouTube channel for clips and highlights from our conversations. All right, we're going to jump right into the conversation.
So for me, it was kind of normal. I was still going to work. I was coming home and doing my business. I think though the thing that was hardest during COVID is just the unknown. So when I get when I'm importing goods into the country, do I need to like sanitize it, put microban on it? No one kind of knew. It was just this weird feeling like, oh, can you do customer returns during COVID? Because at the beginning, it felt like no one knew what was going on. And then just getting supplies for my business, I felt like everything took longer. I felt like there was no 2-day shipping anymore because we didn't know, hey, do you leave the box at the front door and let it air out at the beginning? Just so many misconceptions around COVID. And I think that kind of like freaked people out. So it kind of put business at a standstill.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That like help, it kind of reminded me of I want to say it was like a video or something that I saw on like either YouTube or Instagram where, and this is during COVID, there's this lady teaching you how to get packages during COVID, like, or what's the best way to get packages during COVID. And she was like taking like Lysol or some kind of spray, spraying down the box. It's just like going, going to the extreme.
Exactly. And it was like, can I just open the box? Because people were freaking me out. I was like, I thought I could just open the box. I'm good.
You
It's
open
not
the box,
airborne.
you'll
It's not,
die.
yeah, it's not going to just slap me in the face. And next thing I know, I have COVID. It didn't work that way. And, but it was just, yeah, the whole thing was just very, like, now when you look back on it, just like everything that happened, it was just like, I guess life was changed. So it changed the nature of business as well.
Yeah, no, I think all that kind of makes sense. Yeah, it was a crazy time. So kind of going into like the product development piece a little bit. So can you walk us through like the sampling and the development process for your company?
Yeah, so we actually have like a new process this year. So after we create the designs, I give them to my COO, Karen, and she will reach out to our different factories overseas. We have many different ones, and we get samples from them. And we will send them our tech pack and all our information about what we're going for and what kind of designs we want, to have them send us samples. Usually in my size, I'm usually the first tester because if I don't like it, then it's not going to proceed any further. But I'm usually one of the first testers, but she also helps me figure out what country is going to be the best for what type of product. So we're refining that more and more, but we don't want to have just one manufacturer. And then after we select who the manufacturer is going to be, then we either get a second round of samples to try on a different scale of person, or we go right into production. And the production usually takes between 30 to 60 days, depending on the volume of the order and then the difficulty of the design.
Yeah, I think that's pretty smart to have like a diverse group of manufacturers, no single point of failure, as they would
Yeah.
say in the military. So what kind of like spurred you or possessed you to have a or to include a philanthropic angle to your business?
I think that's been the nature of my life. Like my mom always instilled in me, if you get toys for Christmas, we're not just giving our junk to other people, we're giving something that we value to other people. And my mom was like, hey, during Christmas, we're going to be at Toys for Tots. We're going to be maybe ringing a bell for an organization. We're going to be helping in the soup kitchen. And it's not just during Christmas, it's all year round. Because you have a good life, you need to appreciate and value it. So it just that kind of like continued with me during college. I was always trying to get my friends like, hey, come do like a community service project with me. And they were like, oh, fine, we'll go. So it's like, And then it just kind of continued with me as I just grew up. And I was like, my mom always said, like, you're never too small to help someone. And
Hmm.
so I know people always tell me all the time, well, this is crazy. That's like a bad idea. You should just wait until you're making like, you're a billionaire and then you can go back and help people. But people don't realize that, like, for nonprofits, and especially during the COVID era, $1,000 check meant a lot to them. Like, it may not seem, but $1,000 sometimes was the thing that could hold your organization over until you receive government resources. So it's like it's never too early to help.
No, that's awesome. That's really awesome. So, um, how are you able to make it work, donating like 10%? Like, what's your margins like, man?
So our margins are, we have enough of a margin, especially on our leggings, in order to do that, and it's 10% of our profits. Um, so that's, so we're not, every quarter we're not always profitable, but we do what we can to help, and people like understand it. I think people understand we're a small business. We're already doing what we can do. And organizations that reach out to us sometimes like, hey, we can't really help you this quarter, but maybe next quarter. And sometimes it's not just based off profitability. It's, we're like, we can help. We can help. We can go a little under to help people. Oops, sorry. We can go a little under to help people. And I know, business gurus would, bash me over the head for that. But it's just like, this is the way I want to run my business. And even if it's gonna slow the growth, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with helping people because there's no way I'm gonna raise my status in life without helping other people.
Yeah, no, I think it's important to kind of have those type of values and making sure that you're consistently adhering to them, even when it gets like tough, like you have less than profitable quarters. So like that's really commendable. That's really awesome. So getting into like the maybe like the funding and fundraising. So you mentioned that you are profitable at least some quarters. How have you funded your company?
So most of it was self-funded. I used my deployment money. I just had this bankroll. I went on so many deployments. I just had that, that big, I didn't spend on my car. I
Yeah,
spent it
like
on
you
a
didn't get the
business.
deployment card. You didn't get
I
one,
didn't
huh?
get a, I didn't get a deployment card. I got a bit of deployment business. So I use my deployment money. I have used personal credit cards, which I don't recommend people ever doing. And then in 2023, I got my first investment. It was an impact investment through the Coalition for the Advancement of BIPOC Businesses, which was started by Danielle Schutz in Denver. And I know when I tell people that, people like, Denver, BIPOC businesses, and it's like, yes, they're really pouring a lot. And the organization that gave me my investment was Impact Charitable, and they appreciate the impact I'm making in the community, and they try to invest in companies that are not just looking to build themselves up, but build the community and help the community.
That's pretty awesome. And we've we've talked to a lot of founders who have been successful, and a lot of their stories start with, "Oh yeah, I maxed out my credit card. Like I went through my my savings, and then I maxed out my credit card." So like it's actually pretty common. It seems like not recommended, but
Yeah,
very common.
yes, because can't go, because I feel definitely when I go to banks, no one, and I think this may be getting into one of the other questions, but when I go into banks, I look very young. I'm this like Black woman, usually have a big curly afro, going to banks like, hey, can you fund my legging dream? And they're like,
Hmm.
what? I don't know about that legging. And usually the typical banker will just know that maybe his wife wears leggings, but she gets them from the place in the mall. So he doesn't understand why there needs to be another place besides the place in the mall where she gets leggings.
Mm. Well, I'm glad that you're there to educate them and
Yeah.
to provide a better and broader perspective. So can you and this is kind of talking about like the Amazon strategy a bit. Like, can you walk us through the your Amazon strategy?
It's changed every year for us. So we try to have Amazon not be our primary source of revenue. The primary source of revenue we want to come through our website.
Hmm.
So Amazon we use to supplement. And one of like the great things about Amazon is it allows people to be product focused. So they don't really have to care about the brand. So if someone's looking for a great pair of leggings, if they stumble upon our brand on Amazon, they're like, oh, this is just a great pair of leggings. Maybe I don't know the brand story. I'm gonna keep on it buying this great pair of leggings, and I'm gonna tell my friends about this great pair of leggings. And then that's how you get the buy-in for the product. And then a lot of times after that, we may see that customer transition to our website. Like, okay, they have a great pair of leggings, they have a great sports bra, but let me get to know maybe what the who the founder is. So, and then everyone shops on Amazon. So I always tell small business owners, I'm like, some people are very hesitant to get on Amazon. I always tell them get on Amazon, because even if you don't want that to be your primary source of your primary sales channel, everyone just shops on Amazon. People a lot of times may just start their search on Amazon for a small business. So it's good to just have a presence.
No, that's good. And you kind of mentioned, or you went through some of the pros. What are some of the cons with when dealing with Amazon?
I think some of the cons are you don't have access to the customer data afterwards. So it's like I can't really build a relationship with that customer. I'm just expecting them to, they have to just really like the product. And then I think of course they're going to take a cut of your sales. So I think that could be like a con. But I really think it's like the customer data. I feel like a lot of times I can't hone that relationship with the customer like I can on my email list after someone purchased it from my website.
Gotcha. No, yeah, that all makes sense. Switching gears a little bit and kind of going back to getting your business off the ground. Aaron and I, we had like no background or no experience in the shoe industry, especially not in the kid shoe industry, and so we had to surround ourselves um, by a team of like experts or whatnot, and kind of building that team, not only to give us like the type of information that we needed in order to get this product out there, but also to kind of lend us a little bit of credibility. So who did you work with to kind of get your business off the ground?
Just myself and my manufacturers, and then Google. But a lot of times you can rely on your manufacturers. They can tell you what's being innovative. They can tell you what they're seeing, what trends they're seeing, and not copying other people's stuff, but what they have just seen from the fabric industry. Like, hey, yeah, we have been purchasing a bunch of lime green fabric. We know that means that lets me know a bunch of companies are producing something in lime green. Should I follow this trend or should I diverge from it? And they can let you know, hey, there's a new type of fabric that has polymers in it that prevent sweat from getting through your garment. Like that kind of stuff has helped me. And then as I moved along through my business, that's when I picked up mentors and picked up people that could help. Like the business has only gotten better because in the beginning I was just doing everything by myself, and that's not the best tactic. But I didn't have a co-founder, and I didn't want any of my friends to be a co-founder. I wanted them to still be my friends. At the end of it, I
True.
work differently than them. But now I use Karen. She has tons of activewear experience. She's worked in industry, mentors, and our manufacturers. Like a manufacturer should always be an extension of your team. I think a lot of people treat their manufacturers just like, oh, they're just the workhorse. They just bring my ideas to life. But my manufacturers have always been super honest with me, and they'll tell me if I have a bad idea, and I'm like, oh wow. They'll be like, this won't work, this color won't work with this fabric, or it'll be see-through, or your design, it just looks bad. They'll let me know, and I appreciate that. So I think just building that team and rapport with people and picking up like people as you go along the way is very helpful and has helped me get my business off the ground.
I think that's kind of the way when we started that we envisioned the process going, that we were going to be right there working at the factory, because we had talked to a bunch of founders and their start was like, oh yeah, I flew down to Brazil or wherever the factory was
Oh,
located. And I spent time at the factory, maybe like a month or two, just like talking to their experts there. And like we just I had no background in this product whatsoever, and I just gave them ideas and they were able to, work out my ideas and actually make them tangible. And we were able to kind of build something together there. And we are like, oh yeah, we're going to do, something like that. But obviously we didn't go that route. But no, I think like that is something that maybe not a lot of people know, that the factories themselves are like, um, I guess bastions of experience, and they have a lot of like know-how, and you can kind of really tap into that and use that to help your business grow. So a solopreneur like yourself, I don't even know if I said that one right. It's something that's going on LinkedIn, but I tried to throw that in there and I screwed it up. But anyway, an individual like
yeah,
yourself. Yeah.
and I haven't ever been to my factories. Like that's something I want to do in the future, or I want Karen to go to in the future to the factories. But I think like you got to just use technology and use what we have. A lot of us don't have the resources just to like, I can't go to Brazil or China for 2 months. That's just not how my life works. So I think just use the technology. Just use like, there's so many times I've been on WhatsApp at 1 a.m. with a factory and they've shown me around the factory on WhatsApp. It's like, let's just use what we use the resources that we have to make the best of what we can.
Yeah, I think that was actually a really good way for you to like kind of go about it. And we may have uh I guess been hamstrung a little bit by not doing it that way, because we ended up having to kind of go through a product developer, go through some like in betweens, and so it becomes like a bit of a black box. We don't know what's really like happening, and so they're kind of like it's like the telephone game. Like we give them something, and then like hopefully they deliver it the exact same way that we told them to the factory, and the factory like really like acts upon that. But a lot of times it doesn't happen just like that, and so now we're kind of like backtracking and going, and that's why we were like, oh, you know what, it kind of makes sense to kind of go to the factory, and communicate a little bit more directly with them in order to kind of get some things done, because it really like elongates the process if we end up having to kind of like go through this go between all the time. So no, I think you're
Mm-hmm.
you're doing it the right way, or you did it the right way. I'll this is the last question in this section. I don't know if Aaron, you want to jump back in it. We're at like the question right before like the high level business questions.
Yep, I see it.
Cool, cool. So did you start off like designing the clothes yourself? Because you kind of mentioned that like I took some stuff to the factory and they were like, "Oh, yeah, that's gonna be see-through, or that's not gonna work, or whatever." Is that where you originated, or were you like giving them ideas and they came up with their own designs?
No, I came up with the designs. I'm still part of the design process, like very heavily right now. I sometimes work with an outside designer and I want to bring her on full time, but at the same time, I like designing. That's one of the things I would like to do. So it's like, I don't want to give up everything that I like to do in the business, but I know that's quickly going to go away. But like today after this, I'm just going to be designing all day because it helps me also get to really know my customer when I'm just designing because I will put stuff on my Instagram, my personal Instagram, or the ICONI Instagram, or have someone put it up there for me, like, hey, what colors do you want to see next season? Give me some feedback. Like that all brings me closer to my customer. Like I had a men's focus group because I'm really trying to break into the men's activewear space, and it's so difficult. But just really getting to talk to like a 30 guys on like a Zoom call and just see what they want activewear. It was like, oh wow, I would have never thought that. Like so, it really helps. But I know the design stuff is going to probably go away soon. But at the beginning, I was designing, and I feel like it just helps me get more innovative because you see what's on the market. So if you can look and design and you can quickly make things different than what's on the market just through the design process.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think that's where we have like our most fun too. Like when we're trying to like ideate about like the shoe and like the next like product and like what we're gonna add to it. And we're amateurs at this. Like we're just like kind of like crafting these things and like not they're not like stick drawings, but like very like rudimentary stuff, and that we're kind of giving to our design team, and they're like taking it to the next level. So now I think that's like a very important and fun part of the process. Like you say, you get a chance to like really be a part of it. So like hold on to that. We're holding on to it as long
Yeah.
as long as we can. So I'll let Aaron take this next section. So let him jump in.
Cool. So, I mean, we're in a space that's super crowded. There's some really big players. When you started off, were you at all worried about basically entering into a super crowded space, or did you not really think that way when you first started?
I didn't think that way when I first started because it was more or so or like a hobby. I didn't know how fast it was going to go. It was just something that it was my outlet from the military. But as I've gone along, I don't really care about the crowdedness because I think fashion, I'm sure people would disagree. Fashion is a different type of industry. Fashion, the way you can make a product different is just by the color. It could be like the way it looks. Fashion, we high end fashion brands. They have like 7 houses. They all sell the same thing, right? They just have the different logo on it. I think fashion is so unique in that aspect that like you don't need to make it like a different technology. It can be just the way it looks, the way it makes people feel. So I don't think the space is too crowded, because the activewear industry is one of those industries where there's so many segmented parts and so many niches, and people have all managed to be profitable. But we see that also in the fashion space too. Like maybe not like retail chains that sell other people's brands, but individual brands, they can coexist and they even end up working together a lot of the times.
So how do you go about communicating that differentiation if it's just style to consumers? Is it making them feel a certain way? Is it really saying we care about you as a community? Like, how do you go about doing that?
So ours, the way we said that we're different is, one is our size inclusion. So there's a lot of activewear brands that still don't go up past size extra large for women and past extra extra large for men. And so right now we go up to 4X large. And so that's one of the ways that we're different. And there's other players that may go up to 4X large, but also they're actually charging the customers a premium. They're saying, hey, if you're over a size large, you have to pay $5 extra for a sports bra. And so that's one of the ways. And then fabric innovation. So we're constantly looking for different fabric. We don't want to just be style. We want it to be performance based, because I've had so much activewear. It looks really cute, but it doesn't perform in the gym at all. And that's the last thing like people need to do, is get rid of lose their confidence, because there's a statistics like 32% of Americans still have fashion anxiety when it pertains to the gym. And it's like, wow, so many people are worried about going to the gym just because of fashion. So, and then also we have a motivational edge. So it is the way we make people feel in the community that we build around our brand. We're not saying, hey, we're inclusive. We go up to 4X large, but you'll never see a 4X large woman on our Instagram. That's not what we're doing. We're showing women of different like religions, men and women of different religions, different ethnicities, different like cultural backgrounds, different sizes, shapes, fitness levels, to make sure everyone feels included.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I don't know if you've raised or if you've kind of gone through that process at all, but how would you, because I agree with you that a lot of times in fashion, it's all the same. Really, you're competing on style. But investor types, they don't really like to hear that kind of stuff. So I guess how would you respond to an investor if they said, that's not enough? I want to see more differentiation than just color or style or fabrics, things like that.
I think that wouldn't be the investor for me. So I have managed to get an investment and they understand what I'm trying to build. And I think that's super important. But I've had investors that have approached me, and they really care about the sales. If you have managed to break a certain cap of sales in a certain amount of period, and it depends on each investor, they kind of don't care, because some of the ones that do understand the fashion industry know that there's so many different fashion brands. Most people have over 50 brands just in their closet alone. So they understand that it doesn't have to be the only unique thing. There's really nothing unique in fashion. Usually nothing in fashion it has a patent. Like there's nothing unique. There's just little elements that make it different. So um I think it's the education. So we definitely like point out those ones, the key features that I mentioned to you that make us different. But I have had a lot of times where people are like, "Oh, I have already seen this before," and I'm like, "Okay, well, thank you." Like that's all I can do.
Got it. And you mentioned a little while ago, community building. So how has that factored into your strategy and have you gone about doing that?
Just talking to my customers. I talk to them through email a lot, on social media. We're not one of those people. I'm not going to buy followers. I want to build like an organic, very slow following that I can talk to the people. And then I just stay open with them. So I'm willing to post stuff. I post a lot of stuff on like stories, for ICONI, asking for DMs. So it's like, hey, I'm connecting with customers through DMs. I'm not one of those brands that say no DMs, don't DM me about anything, because it's like, no, sometimes that's the best way to reach out to people. And I just stay open as possible, I guess. I think that is and then for example, we have a thank you email that's sent out at the end of every, like one that I wrote that is sent out after every order, and I ask for feedback, and customers will respond and I respond back to them. Oh, I have time in my day, I can respond to these emails that need a response and let them know, hey, thanks for that suggestion. So I think that's the way I build community. Just stay open and like be nice. I think so many people are just worried about like, oh, I'm a CEO, I can't talk to people, or I want my brand to be so cool that I can't do certain things. Just like be open with your community and people will respond to it.
So do you, because me and Brandon have talked about this a little bit, whether we want to be more like a founder-led or product-led company. So do you feel like your company is very much founder-led or maybe somewhere in the middle?
I think it's more founder led right now. I would prefer it to be more product led. Like I told people, I was like, oh, you'll know when I make it because you won't ever see me again. But it's definitely founder led. But I feel like now in the social media era, people want to get to know the founder. Like for me, I had like I think early last year, I made all my like my LinkedIn, my Facebook, my Instagram. I made it public based on like what my COO told me. She's like, you need to be public so people can get to know you. I'm like, why? I don't want people to get to know me. I want them to like ICONI, but I also think when you're getting press, a lot of times the press, they really like to hear your personal story. So I think it's definitely, I would say it's more founder led, but I'm trying to like swing that. But I'm okay if people want to get to know me, want to get to talk to me and stuff like that.
And then you talked a little bit about, if you're super successful, they'll never see you again. So like what is your long-term vision for the company?
I want ICONI to be $1 billion activewear brand, and and I want to have a brand that has purpose throughout the whole thing. So one of the things like I want to do is start employing people that are at risk of homelessness or have experienced homelessness in the Denver Aurora metro area, because there's no reason why there's so many Colorado businesses and we can't employ some of these people. And I know it will take time and process with their rehabilitation centers, but like I want to help my community as I grow. And then I think I just want to make this activewear empire that is inclusive to everyone and continues to maintain the values that I started it with.
Makes a ton of sense. And then I saw that you were featured as one of Oprah's favorite things, I want to say in 2020. So what was that like? Walk us through kind of how that felt when you found out about it, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, that was crazy. So I found out a couple months before it actually happened. That was my first year in business. So I had been in business 8 months when I first found out that I was going to be Oprah's favorite things. And I was just like, how am I going to pay for all this inventory? So I did what you should not do, which I told Brandon, which I told no founder should do. I maxed out all my credit cards to buy the inventory for Oprah's favorite things. And then 2 months, and then I just had to, sit on that interest for 2 months, and then it launched and we sold out of everything. So it was like a founder's like dream. Like my first year in business, I'm at the 11th month mark. All of a sudden, I made pretty much no money at the beginning of the year. I'm just trying to figure everything out, to like making all this money, to having all these like press articles. It was definitely like overwhelming because I consider myself an introvert. I do good on like kind of like 101 smaller segments, but it was like every day someone was like, can we come meet you? I was like, why? Please, I don't want to like, don't, why do you need to meet me? Can we just talk about ICONI? Why do you want to get to know me? Like, they were like, can we get pictures of you in your uniform? Can we follow you around for a day at work? Like, well, you can't you can't do that. But it was very overwhelming, and I feel like very blessed for the experience. And I was really blessed that I had like a great Air Force unit when I was like, hey, I need to take a month off. And they're like, where are you going? And I was like, oh, I actually have a business and I got an Oprah. And they were like, you're famous. Why didn't you tell us? I definitely think it was, yeah, but it was very overwhelming at first. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I was packing orders with my friends in my kitchen, and they were working for free. So, but it was a great experience.
Do you have a hard stop at, I guess, 12:30 your time or no?
No,
Okay.
you're good. No, you're good.
So me and Brandon, we have a lot of like pie in the sky ideas and visions for our future, and we want to go viral like that. We kind of not we don't quite expect to go viral, but we really want to go viral when we launch. And we've talked to a couple of people who have done that. So how do you build on that viral moment and basically avoid just becoming a fad?
So for us, it wasn't like social media viral, because a lot of the Oprah consumers probably don't have social media because they're over 40, like Gen X, baby boomers. Um, so I don't know how to go viral on social media. I haven't ever gone viral, but I think the way you build on that is the ability to how are you capturing those customers? So like email is like, yeah, people like always bang your head over about email. It's like email and SMS is so important because that is like the closest connection. If someone gives you their email, that means like, oh, they at least want to hear from you. Because you'll be surprised so many people don't mark your email as spam. They're like, oh, I at least want to hear. I want to check out and see what they're doing. So I think that's how you build on it. And you also make sure you have a good product. So you don't want to have the viral moment, everyone gets your product, and then it's a terrible product. Like we've seen that on TikTok a lot with these TikTok brands. So I think that's important to make sure you capture them. And then when you're capturing people on social media, make sure you're capturing them somewhere else because you don't own social media. So if when Instagram goes down or Facebook goes down, and then we all go to Twitter to see if Instagram and Facebook are down, like you just like some businesses have to stop because they're only selling that way. So it's like how do you capture your customers and keep them like their eyes on you? Because we're actually sorry.
Keep going. Sorry. Yeah, keep
we're
going.
actually preparing. I can't tell you what it is, but we're actually preparing for another viral moment very soon. And after, like, my goal for that is after we capture all those things, not social media again. It's another appearance. We're capture all those people. My goal is to get all their emails, and I need to release a product, a new collection a month after. So like we're on crunch time right now. We've been working all through Christmas with our manufacturers because we need to release a product the month after to make sure we're able to keep up the customer relationship.
Well, good luck with that, and I'm definitely interested to hear more about that when you're willing to share or able to share. But one of the interesting things that we've heard from a lot of entrepreneurs is as they're going either, with their current business or if they sell their business, they start to have this thesis about what the perfect startup looks like. So they're like, if I start another business, then it has to tick these 5 boxes or whatever. So have you started to, I guess, create a hypothesis on what the perfect startup looks like?
Well, for me, the perfect startup would be like business. In my opinion, the perfect startup would be like business to business. It wouldn't involve direct to consumer, but that's just I'm like, oh, yeah, I have to get all these little pieces. And then I always think about, oh man, maybe if I started a tech business, I could raise a bunch of capital. But I think like like if I could go back in time, things I would still do activewear because I can't think of anything other thing that I'm passionate about besides that, like books. But I don't want to open a bookstore or anything. But I would make sure I have like a team at the beginning because it was just me at the beginning, and it's hard to bounce ideas off yourself. Two, I would have like a strategic marketing plan going into it because I think I relied on the viral moment, and then I almost lost it for a little bit, and I did lose it for a little bit because I didn't have a strategic marketing plan in place. And I think I would be like three. I think I would just be like more open during the process. Like I was so like my first couple years, I was just I want to like always look a certain way. Like I don't want to show people that I'm packing orders for my kitchen because then they won't want to buy from me. But like what I've seen is like you should show those moments. And that's why I'm starting a behind the scenes YouTube because so many people have asked me, hey, what do you do? What does activewear founder do? So I think, but I don't have like what a perfect startup would be because for me, it's like everyone's startup journey it's so different. And then a lot of times I feel like it is based on like who the founder is. Like it can really change the way your business gets responded to because some founders just like they're maybe not the nicest people. So maybe they have to really sell their product, or you see their second in command really talking more because they're not like, a nicest person.
Yep. And that definitely resonates because almost every consumer founder that we've talked to is like, man, I wish I had done tech. Tech seems so much easier. Like, I'll just raise a bunch of money, make $1 billion in a couple
And
years
then
and then
just,
be sitting pretty.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I have those thoughts as well.
Yes, which I'm sure tech founders don't feel that way. They
I
probably
know.
like
Yeah, I know.
we constantly have pressure on us to get investment, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
It
I
can't
feel that.
it can't be
I
as
feel that.
easy as it looks, but man, it looks easy. That's all I'll
Yes.
say. And then we've talked to a lot of founders, but I was kind of looking through the faces of everyone we've talked to, and we haven't talked to a lot of diverse people in the space. So what has it been like for you starting a business as a Black woman? What have been some of the challenges that you've run into with that?
I think it's mostly been access to capital. Like when I was selling Brandon before, like when I go to a bank, I look very young. I usually have like a curly afro. Um, and I am going to a traditional banker and telling them, I want to start an activewear business, give me money. You know, in my first dealings with a bank, with my first year in business, I was like, hey, I got Oprah's favorite things. I'm trying to get capital. And they're like, who's Oprah? They're like, my wife just gets leggings from Lululemon. Why do we need another Lululemon? I'm like, well, you're not understanding my vision. So, but I think that's been the toughest part for me. It's just people just not understanding the vision, and maybe the demographic, what the demographic is. Like, a lot of my customers are like Black and brown women and women of color, and people may think, oh, that's just a passing fad, but no, we over trillions of dollars are spent by Black and Hispanic consumers every year, and people forget that because they may not be, you know, buying, you know, the Teslas or something. Like, okay, cool, but what mid-level car are they buying? Or, you know, you're selling more Hondas than Teslas every year. So I think people forget that there's other consumer markets outside their traditional spaces.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then any advice for us or other diverse entrepreneurs in terms of building community of um for you, like Black entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs, Black female entrepreneurs, just any advice on building those kinds of connections?
LinkedIn. So every time I see like a Black founder, and especially if they're based in Denver, like I think with Brandon, I saw that he was based in Denver, and I sent him a LinkedIn thing. Didn't need to talk to him or anything. I just sent him a LinkedIn message because I'm like, I want to know what other Black founders are doing. And all my Black founder friends in Denver, that's how I've met them. Like, I either met them through LinkedIn, and then I'll see them later at a business event. And sometimes I introduce myself right away. I'm just one of those people that are too shy. But a lot of times, especially in Denver, if I see another Black founder, if I see another woman founder in the room, I'm gonna go talk to them. And we're usually gonna instantly connect. And that's how I've met a lot of my founder friends. So I think you can build community just by being open, and you'll be very surprised how those other founders, at least in Denver, are gonna look out for you. Because I know tech founders, I know other CPG founders, and they look out for me like, oh, hey, one of my friends, she owns Mom Juice Wines and based in Denver, and she was like, hey, we're making a gift guide list. And she's a Black woman. We're making a gift guide list. I'm gonna put your leggings on there. I was like, thank you so much. Like, just certain things like that. Or they're like, oh, I found this thing for you, and we plug each other because I think we know our community is so small and we want to help each other grow. There's enough space for all of us to grow.
Yeah, I really like that idea of kind of cross promotion.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
And then these next ones we can do them just kind of rapid fire. So, what's one thing that keeps you up at night about your business?
All the mistakes I've made, because sometimes I just think if I wouldn't have made this mistake, then I would be further ahead. So that's what keeps me up at night.
And then what's been your biggest learning so far?
That you have to business is going to have its ups and downs, it has its seasons, and you have to have the discernment when to play it, when to pause, and when to stop.
And then going back to that first question about mistakes, we talked to kind of like a mindset coach yesterday, and he was talking about the importance of reframing. So, what's maybe one mistake you've made that really allowed you to be a better entrepreneur, or looking back, it really helped you grow?
Not reaching out when I needed help. I think crashing and burning, and not like my customers not seeing about me, my personal life crashing and burning, not getting enough sleep at night, like just hating just the whole process when I could have reached out for help and it was so easy.
And then what's been the hardest part so far about building this business?
The hardest part has been not knowing what I don't know. And I feel like you gotta fail and have a learning lesson before you can know what you don't know.
And then what's been the most rewarding part?
The most rewarding part is seeing the vision come to life, being able to employ my friends that maybe were treated poorly in the corporate sector, to seeing my customers at the grocery store wearing my leggings.
And what does success look like for you with this business and life in general, in your career, however you want to define that?
I want this to be a $1 billion brand, and I also want to have more freedom to control my life as I want to. Like, my past generations of elders and ancestors weren't able to do so. So I want to start putting that in place.
And what advice do you have for aspiring entrepreneurs?
It's going to be knowing when to pause, when to play, and when to stop. Your business is going to have seasons. Your life is going to have seasons. And even though we don't want to mix the two a lot of times together, they do mix together. And you have to have the discernment in these different seasons. If not, you may end up crashing.
And what do you know now that you wish you knew when you started?
I wish I knew that you could negotiate more with manufacturers and never to go with just the first option.
Yep, I've heard that before too. Everything is negotiable.
Yeah.
And I saw you're an African American history buff, and my mom is too, and she's always kind of like telling me about historical figures or events that I didn't really know about. And then I look it up and I'm like, oh, this is pretty interesting. Like more people should know about that. So is there anything, any person or event that you feel like people should know about African American history that they don't?
Yeah, so I guess I give this one some thought. So definitely one of the Charleston native, so I'm gonna shout someone out from the hometown. Philip Simmons. He is an he's a blacksmith and artisan. Um he passed away in 2009, but he was born in 1912, and the work he has done with blacksmithing across Charleston, people don't realize that this was actually done by a black man. So a lot of the gates, a lot of the ironworks that we see on windows on historical buildings all throughout Charleston are thanks to this black man that people didn't know. And then even up into his 90s, he died at the age of like 95 or 96. Um, he was still giving back to the community. So just to see this guy come from very rural Daniel Island at the time to being one of the top artisans in blacksmith, and he was recognized by being the best blacksmith and artisan in the 20th century in Charleston, to giving back to his community at such an old age. I think that's like full circle.
Cool. Well, I'll check them out for sure. And then Brandon, did you have any last kind of like rapid fire questions you wanted to ask?
No, I think that was good, man. No saved rounds here. I thought this was a really interesting conversation. I'm definitely grateful that you stuck around through the tech difficulties that we had early on.
I know.
Don't worry, those will be edited out. This will seem like a very smooth process, but like we definitely appreciate you sticking in there and jumping rooms with us, jumping up.
Yeah, exactly,
no problem,
exactly.
no problem. You gotta stay humble through all this stuff. And yeah, Zoom always gives. I feel like every time I go on Zoom, it's like updating. I'm like, shit, I'm late for the meeting. Like,
Yeah.
why is Zoom always updating? What are the
It's like,
updates?
yeah, exactly. I opened Zoom and then it had to update. I closed it out and then opened it again and it was updating again. It's like, how can it be every single time that I open it, it needs an update?
Yes, I have to hop on like super early because it happens to me every time. I feel like every time Karen and I have Wednesday meetings, I'm always late, like 2 minutes late. And she's like, "What's going on?" I was like, my Zoom is updating. Why?
It's so frustrating. And then just, is there anything you wanted to plug or basically anything like where to find you or anything like that that you wanted us to include kind of at the end of the podcast?
Sure. Yeah, they can shop ICONI on iconi.com, amazon.com, and now walmart.com.
Cool.
Sweet.
Thank
Well,
you guys.
this was fun. I'll have to listen to the first half or 60%, whatever it was that I missed due to my computer freezing and then shutting down. But definitely appreciate you coming on. And the portion that I was on was definitely super interesting, and everything you said resonated a lot with me.
Yeah, appreciate it, Angel. Thanks for
Yeah, thanks,
Thank
Angel.
you.
And
Well,
yeah,
have a great one.
to bump into you in real life, so that'll be cool too.
Okay. Okay. Have a great one.
Yeah, you too.
All right.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye.